everyone, my name is Evangeline. I'm the owner of Makeup Tips. In this video, I'm going to be doing a review, demo and swatches on the Maybelline Master Strobing liquids. So there are 3 shades in the range. So we've got light, medium and deep. So light is sort of a really beautiful pinky pearlescent shade. Medium's more of a rose gold shade and deep is more of a sort of beautiful rich golden bronzy shade. So as you can see, there's swatches of all 3 of them there. So I'm starting off with the shade 100, which is light, which is obviously the most suitable for my very pale, very porcelain skin tone. Now this shade works quite well on my skin tone. I'm personally not a huge fan of pink-based highlighters, but this is sort of the best match for my skin tone. So the formula of these is sort of a really beautiful light sort of cream. It's not overly greasy, it's not overly oily, watery or anything like that. It's a really beautiful sort of middle sort of consistency that sort of works on every skin tone and skin type. It's very easy to sort of blend and you can also build it up quite well. So you can sheer it down quite a lot if you're somebody who prefers a more sheer style highlight, or you can build it up quite a bit if you prefer something that's a little bit more intense and a bit of a wow blinding highlight. So the formula is sort of that perfect mix of, it's a really great liquid in the sense that it applies like a liquid, it applies like a cream and it blends quite beautifully and smoothly, but it doesn't dry down to a super matte finish, but it doesn't stay greasy and sort of oily either. Instead, you just get that really beautiful glow and luminosity. So the next shade is the shade medium. So this shade is not as great for my skin tone, as you can see. It's more of a sort of really deep, rich rose gold copper shade. So this is definitely better suited to those with a medium to deep skin tone. So this shade is sort of quite rose goldy, very on trend, etc. So again, much like the other formula, it's got that beautiful creaminess to it. It applies really beautifully, it applies really smoothly, and it's very easy to blend in with your fingertips. So I apply this just to the tops of the cheekbones as well as above the brow, just to add a little bit of highlight and sort of create that C shape. I also apply a little bit to the Cupid's bow a little bit later on as well, just to make the lips look a little bit larger. So the pigment can be a little bit strong at first, but you definitely can sort of sheer it out and make it look a lot more natural on the skin and make it blend in a lot more beautifully. But with some shades, I found that some shades were better than others, so that is something that is important to know. Some shades were a lot easier to blend than others. For instance, I found that this shade and the deep shade took a little bit more work to blend into the skin. So you just have to spend that little bit longer time sort of blending it into the skin. But obviously this is also very much dependent on the skin tone that you have. So I have a very fair skin, so naturally these shades do show up quite harsh and stark on my skin, whereas in the lighter shade blends a lot more beautifully. So it's really just about making sure that you find that perfect shade for your skin tone. So as you can see, it provides a really beautiful highlight to the skin, and sort of you can really sort of customize it to your preference of being an intense highlight or a more sheer and subtle highlight. So the next shade is a shade Deep, and this is, as I mentioned earlier, a really sort of gold shade. So it's sort of something a little bit different. It can be used for a real intense style look if you've got a medium or light skin. It's something a little bit different. And then you've also got that shade that sort of is perfect for those with a deeper or darker skin tone. As you can see, it did take a little bit more work for me to blend this one, so I did actually have to go in with a foundation brush and just sort of make sure that it was blended quite well on sort of my cheekbones. Otherwise, I find that it doesn't look the best. This shade also had a little bit more of a drier consistency as I blended it into the skin, so it dried down a little bit quicker than the other shades. So that's something important to note, that you do not have an awful lot of play time, because it does set. It doesn't set to a completely matte finish, but it does set a bit, and once it has set, it is obviously a bit more difficult to blend. So there's a look at that gold shade there, sort of on my cheekbones and whatnot. And as you can see, once I've sort of blended it and worked it into the skin, I am able to get away with that shade, and it does flatter my skin tone reasonably well. Really beautiful highlighters, look amazing on the skin, feel amazing on the skin, and so blendable. Also work great on every skin tone, from very dry to normal to sort of a more oily or congested skin, and they also are not horrible on people who have a bit more of a mature skin, as I find they don't settle too much into texture or fine lines. So the next thing that I really wanted to cover was the topic of another highlighting product from Maybelline, and this is their Master Strobing Stick. So I wanted to do a little bit of a comparison amongst the two of them. Now the Master Strobing Stick is definitely more of an intense highlight. It's not as easy to sort of shear it out and work it into the skin. And something to note with this is it can be a little bit greasy as well because it is in that stick formula. So you can either apply it directly from the tube or you can apply it with your fingertips. Now this really comes down to personal preference. I think that both have their place. If I had to pick, I would pick the liquid over the stick, as I just find the stick can be a little bit greasy. So if you are somebody who does have oily or quite congested skin, I probably wouldn't recommend the stick. That being said, the stick definitely has more of sort of a glow to it, whereas in the liquid is maybe a little bit more shimmer than glow. So as you can see, it definitely gives more of an intense highlight than what the liquid does. A great thing with these liquids as well is they work really beautifully when blended in with foundation. So just all you need to do is grab a bit of foundation, add a drop or two of the liquid illuminator, and then sort of blend it together and apply it onto your skin, and it just creates a really beautiful, youthful and dewy effect. So the next thing that I wanted to compare for you was the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector liquid. So these are actually quite similar to the Maybelline ones. If I had to say which one I preferred, I would actually pick the Maybelline one. I find that the Becca one can be a little bit watery and sort of it can have a little bit too much slip on the skin and can sometimes sit a little bit funny on top of foundation. Whereas in the Maybelline ones, I feel like work well on top of a variety of different formulas. That being said, the Becca ones definitely do have a little bit more pigment to them, but they are also a little bit trickier to blend. So the Maybelline one is definitely better if you're somebody who wants something that you can build up quite a bit and you want something that is quite creamy and quite beautiful, and you can sort of alter between having that really beautiful subtleness to the skin or something that's a little bit more intense. So there you go, there's a look at all three shades of the Maybelline Master Strobing Liquid. So you've got light, medium and deep. So there's sort of three shades that are really great and can sort of be used by a variety of different skin tones. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll also leave some links in the description box below where you can follow me on all of my social media channels and networks, and also where you can find out some more information about this product.